Hello? What? My husband had an accident. The call came from the police. Rushing to the hospital with my whole family, we found my husband lying in bed, wrapped in bandages. And on the next bed, there was another person. The woman I hated so much that she haunted my nightmares was lying there in a similar state. What is this? My husband, seeing us enter the hospital room, turned even paler.
No, this is...
My father, instead of worrying about my severely injured husband, stood with his arms crossed, staring at him with an expression I had never seen before, and my husband started sobbing. Seeing that made me angry. Why was he crying? My husband was cheating on me with this woman. I could never forgive that. She was too despicable. And then things took an unexpected turn. My name is Nancy. It's been 10 years since I got married, but my husband Jason and I still get along well, and we're known as a lovey-dovey couple among our friends. I met Jason through an arranged meeting held by my father.
There's a good young man at the company who would be perfect for you, Nancy. Would you like to meet him once?
My father runs a company, and there seems to be a promising male employee there. It's rare for my father to make such a request. To help my father out, I agreed to the arranged meeting with a light heart. Oh well. You can't refuse a meeting with the president's daughter, can you? How pitiful. That's what I thought as I headed to the restaurant where the arranged meeting was to take place. I never expected it, but I fell in love at first sight with the man sitting in front of me. He was an elite graduate from a national university, the rising star of the company, and handsome to boot. On top of that, he was friendly and easy to talk to. The more we talked, the more I was drawn to Jason's personality. However, knowing that he couldn't refuse if I, as the president's daughter, said I wanted to meet again, I tried to suppress my feelings and end the arranged meeting. But to my surprise, Jason said,
I want to meet you again.
At that moment, I felt overjoyed beyond words. And so, before I knew it, we got married and were blessed with 3 children. Our children are obedient and kind, and I feel blessed every day. However, recently, I feel like there has been a decrease in conversation between my husband and me, perhaps due to going through a rough patch. While we engage in conversations with the children present, conversations between just the 2 of us have drastically decreased. Even when I try to talk to him, he absent-mindedly responds while playing with his smartphone. It's starting to make me feel sad. It's our 10th year of marriage, and our children range from upper elementary to lower grades. But I'm still 32 years old, in the prime of my life. Is it strange for me to want to be a woman in front of my husband, even though I'm a mother in front of my children? I don't necessarily need the lovey-dovey affection, but I want to feel like lovers, even if it's not to that extent. Ah. Is Jason going to be late again today? It was 11 p.m., with the children already asleep. In the living room, with the TV on, I waited for Jason. Today, I had to wait for Jason no matter what, even if it meant just holding hands for some energy replenishment. Lately, my dreams have been terrible. My dreams feature my detested sister, Amy. Every time, she appears and takes away something precious to me. It's not so much a dream as it is a replay of past events, but why do I have to relive those unpleasant feelings from that time again? My 2 years older sister was beautiful, but had a famously awful personality. For some reason, she was particularly harsh towards me, and it became pronounced starting from the upper grades of elementary school. It began with typical bullying and harassment at school, but as we grew older, it became more insidious. Destruction and plundering of what I cherished. It wasn't just about material things, it extended to human relationships. That's why I was isolated throughout my school years. While my parents always protected me, living under the same roof had its limits. So my parents suggested early marriage for me. Since I got married and left home, the frequency and scale of harassment from my sister have decreased, but it's the worst to be harassed even in my dreams. My sister, who ran away from home during her student days and married, swiftly divorced and is now back at our parents' house. That's why I can't go back to my parents' home. I need to cling to Jason, to have him listen to me and calm my heart. Whenever I suffered from my sister's actions, I would talk to Jason, have him hold me, and soothe my soul.
Mom and Dad really get along well, huh?
They're lovey-dovey. Lovey-dovey.
Even when there's nothing going on, our kids would look at us with a bewildered gaze as we stick together. But now, our conversations have reduced. This is an emergency for me. I'm lonely, so lonely. This isn't good at all. My voice trailed off, almost drowned out by the TV volume. I wonder what Jason is thinking. Will things continue like this from now on? I hope not, but just as I was thinking that, I heard the sound of the door unlocking. I quickly got up and peeked at the entrance. Welcome home. Dinner or bath first? With a smile as usual, I took his work bag.
Dinner.
Jason, looking exhausted, let out a heavy sigh. Welcome back. I'll get it ready. I hurried to the kitchen and started reheating the food that was already prepared. Suddenly, Jason followed me into the kitchen, something he hadn't done in a while. Until recently, Jason would stand at the entrance of the kitchen, chatting until the food was ready. It used to be so natural, and today felt like a return to those times after a long while.
It's sudden, but I have a business trip for 2 nights and 3 days starting tomorrow.
Wow. That's really sudden. Where is the trip to?
It's to Hawaii. So, I'll be leaving first thing tomorrow morning.
As Jason loosened his tie and shrugged his shoulders, I smiled, hiding my disappointment. Hawaii, huh? Loco Moco? Poke?
Nancy, you really love food, don't you?
Jason chuckled. No. It's for the kids to enjoy.
I'll bring some back. Sorry for always leaving everything to you.
Oh, what's with the sudden formality? It's totally fine. Taking care of the house is my job. I got married right after graduating from college and have never worked outside. That's why I admire and want to support Jason, who works outside. I'm done. Should I help you with your business trip preparations while you eat?
No, I'll take care of it myself. You have an early start tomorrow, right? You can go to bed without waiting for me.
Really? Then, I'll take you up on that. I'll see you off tomorrow. I set the warm dishes on the table and took off my apron. Good night. But Jason had already taken out his phone, seemingly oblivious to my words. A sense of loneliness crept over me. With no response forthcoming, I headed to the bedroom. I forgot to mention the dream. I took deep breaths, trying to calm the heavy, anxious feeling in my chest. As I drifted off to sleep, I tried to soothe the unresolved anxieties on my own. And it's the third day since Jason left for his business trip to Okinawa. I've been doing household chores alone with a melancholic feeling. Truth be told, on the day of his trip, I overslept and couldn't see him off. I woke up at the usual time, only to find Jason had left long before. Unable to have a proper conversation, unable to share the nightmares I had intended to discuss, and unable to bid him farewell. For the past 3 days, my mood has been downcast without respite. I can maintain my usual cheerful demeanor in front of the children, but it's unbearable when I'm alone. I wish he'd come home soon. Buzz, buzz. I muttered, wondering whether it was my whisper or the ringing of my phone that came first. Out of habit, I had it on silent mode, only vibrating. It was a miracle I noticed the incoming call. Hello? An accident? The call was from the police.
Your husband has been in an accident, critically injured. Please come to the hospital with your family immediately.
Yes.
I understand you're in shock, but please try to stay calm.
Yes. What was the person on the other end of the line saying? My mind couldn't grasp it. Everything turned blank. The call was disconnected before I knew it. Frantically, I tried to process. Jason. Accident. Hospital. My hands trembled. What should I do? Those words spun in my head. Suddenly, my children's faces flashed in my mind, and I slapped my cheeks hard. Pull myself together. After calming my nerves a bit, I dialed the schools of my children, our parents-in-law, and relatives with shaking hands. We needed to get to the hospital where Jason was as soon as possible. I somehow made it to the hospital, and once again, my mind went blank. In front of me, my husband lay wrapped in bandages like a cocoon. And next to his bed, Amy, my sister who appeared in my nightmares, lay in a similar state. What's going on? Jason, seeing us enter the hospital room, turned even paler than he already was.
Mom, Dad, and even my father-in-law.
My father, far from showing concern for Jason's serious injuries, stood with his arms crossed, glaring at him with a terrifying expression I'd never seen before. It wasn't just because my sister was next to him. He had been briefed by the police about the situation, and he'd been wearing that same expression ever since he returned. Our youngest child exclaimed,
Dad's all wrapped up like a mummy.
As if to break the tense atmosphere circulating among the adults with their cheerful voice. However, the older two were not children oblivious to the situation. The eldest son even directed a contemptuous gaze toward his own father. And somehow, beside the father, there was a man named Tom, presumably a subordinate, who seemed quite awkward as he glanced at Jason.
Tom? Sorry to bother you. But could you take the children outside for a bit?
Yes, sir.
Why is Tom here?
Jason's face contorts as he struggles to escape, but according to the doctor, although his life is not in danger, recovery will take more than 3 months. He can't move.
Tom has been our driver up to this point. I heard a lot about you on the way here. It seems you've been on a family trip these past few days.
Ah, well.
Jason, who had been timid until then, glares sharply at Tom. Tom waved his hand lightly and left the room with my children. Yet, I still can't grasp the situation. My father seems to sense my feelings and lets out a deep sigh.
Nancy, while you were talking to the doctor, I heard from the police. Fiercely. Do you know that Jason has been on vacation for the past few days, claiming it's a family trip?
A family trip? That's impossible.
Of course, it is. It's strange that you're not with him on a family trip.
In recent years, not only has the conversation between husband and me decreased, but there have been no family outings either. As our children have grown older, they have started to do separate activities on holidays. Then, Jason starts to make excuses in a panicked manner.
No. It's not a family trip. I went there to check in advance for a family trip. It's important for me to lead the family in unfamiliar places, and it was essential.
Jason's eyes were clearly swimming as he stumbled over his words. But was the checking really needed to precede a trip? I felt my heart growing colder. Wait, Jason, why? Why are you here? Wasn't it a business trip to Hawaii?
Huh. A business trip? What do you mean? I don't recall ordering anything like that.
A chilling voice and gaze pierced through Jason. It's been a while since I've heard my father's angry voice. Although the hospital room is large, apart from Jason, my sister, and me, there are no other patients, so it's like a private room for our family.
This man lied to Nancy about a business trip. And it seems he enjoyed Disneyland with Amy.
I can tell my father is struggling to contain his anger as he speaks. With my sister. What does that mean? Surely, whatever follows won't be good news for me. Are the nightmares I've been having lately premonitions? Is that what's been happening?
According to the police, they collided head-on with a large truck while traveling in a rental car. The day before the accident, they stayed in the same room at the same inn. It seems they found out through inquiries with the employees of the inn to verify their identities.
Jason and my sister stayed in the same room. Anger begins to bubble up inside me. I don't care about the accident or the serious injuries. How dare you lie about a business trip?
No, it's not like that.
What's not like that? Explain yourself. Jason looks surprised by the anger in my voice. Did you think it was okay to cheat because I like you? Or what? Did you marry me just because I'm the president's daughter?
No. I really love you, Nancy.
You think you can say that in this situation? It's absurd. I feel like I might burst into tears out of anger. Glancing briefly at my sister, her injuries seem lighter compared to Jason's. Though both are bandaged, she looks somewhat healthier. However, her expression seems to mock me. Why? Why did it have to be my sister of all people? You've known what I've been through because of her. A gleeful voice chimes in beside Jason, who looks embarrassed.
Haha. That's obvious, isn't it? I'm prettier than you and have a better figure. Compared to you, who's only deteriorating after marriage, any sane man would choose me when they see us side by side.
I don't think that way. Nancy has always been beautiful.
Don't be ridiculous. It's too late for that now. The fact that you chose me won't disappear.
Choosing you was a moment of weakness. I truly love Nancy from the bottom of my heart.
Yesterday, or even just a few hours ago, hearing I love you would have made me happy, but now it sends a chill down my spine. Although he looks at me with pleading eyes, the supposed loving husband, all I feel is disgust.
Enough of this charade. Nancy, the police gave me this.
Father quietly hands me a smartphone. It's Jason's familiar phone. I take it and turn the screen towards Jason.
Give it back.
Jason's expression grows even more panicked. Ignoring him, I unlock the phone with facial recognition and open the messaging app, leaving Jason, who struggles to move his still body, in the background. And then... despicable. What love is he talking about? In the messaging app, a list of girls' names was lined up. Moreover, all the messages contained exchanges that can be evidence of affairs. Heart emojis, photos that seem to be taken afterwards, discussions about the next date. As a test, I sent a message to the girl at the top.
What are you doing?
Instantly, it showed as read, and a reply came back.
Jason, I can't wait to see you. Let's love each other a lot on our next date.
With plenty of heart emojis at the end of her message. It makes me sick. Are all the girls here from Dad's company?
No, it's not like that.
Be clear.
Father's angry voice makes Jason's shoulders shake. Not all of them. Some are from dating apps. I was too disgusted to even find words. From behind us, we could hear my mother-in-law's sniffles.
You fool. After everything they've done for you, you go and cheat.
My father-in-law's voice, heavy with despair, spilled out quietly.
What was the point of boasting about Nancy's good qualities even to us?
In the face of her son's betrayal, my mother-in-law murmured in disbelief.
No, it's not like that. I really love Nancy. It was just a moment of weakness.
You've been saying that, but nothing excuses what you've done. You've betrayed the one you truly love. You're a traitor. I can't understand the thinking of someone who would cheat while having a wife. To cheat and still claim to love your wife? No one here can understand that. You fool of a son.
The word traitor hit home.
What a mood killer. It was just a game, but I'm tired. I'm done with it and don't need it anymore, so I'll give it back to you.
My sister's words slightly brightened Jason's expression.
Yeah. I won't meet them again. I'll cut ties with all those girls. So
what? My voice came out colder than I thought. Are you considering starting over? That's impossible. I told you about all my past traumas, my painful feelings. And yet, you still. With my sister. Disgusting, disgusting, disgusting. Just thinking about your hands touching me makes me sick.
What? How rude can you be, little sister? Can't you stop calling people trash?
Trash. You're nothing but twisted and trashy in personality. You're garbage.
What? You should apologize?
Amy.
It was my father who interrupted my sister's voice.
I've tolerated your twisted personality because I felt responsible for raising you this way. But I've reached my limit. I'm cutting ties with you from today onwards.
Why? Don't be ridiculous. I'm injured. You can't just do that.
For the first time, my sister's expression shows panic. But my father was quietly staring straight at her.
Perhaps this is karma from the heavens. How much do you think you've troubled Nancy all this while? What's not to like? You two are sisters, right?
Father's voice, which was filled with anger just moments ago, now dripped with sadness, conveying that despite the strained relationship with his daughter, he still loved her dearly.
It's all your fault, Mom and Dad. You always praise only Nancy. I'm always the one who's not good enough.
I see. We thought we raised you both equally. When a child achieves something, like getting full marks in a test or winning awards in sports, it's a parent's duty to praise them. Nancy just happened to receive more of it.
It seems my sister had been jealous of me all along. Misunderstanding that I received more love from our parents, she let it fester until now.
But Amy, didn't we also celebrate when you were scouted for modeling or when you got into high school? Have you forgotten?
I remember it well. Both my sister's celebrations and mine. My mother made our favorite dishes, and the four of us sat around the table. Even though there was little conversation between us, both my father and mother equally engaged with us and praised us.
In the end, you've just been projecting your own insecurities onto Nancy. And you've crossed a line that shouldn't have been crossed.
I don't care about that. Don't talk about cutting ties. I have nowhere to go.
My sister seemed to only hear about herself in my father's mournful voice.
From now on, we'll hire a lawyer. We'll demand compensation from both Jason and Amy once you're discharged. So be prepared.
Suing your own daughter. You're heartless.
Tears flowed from my sister's eyes. However, knowing that those tears were for herself, no emotion welled up within me.
Compensation. We're not getting a divorce, right? I'll change. I'll never cheat again. And I'll prioritize my work and family.
It's obvious we're getting a divorce. If it weren't my sister, I might have considered it. If there were only one person involved, there might have been room for leniency. But what I had been holding back streamed down my cheeks. Just looking at your face makes me sick. I can't forgive you.
But
tears flowed from Jason's eyes too. Seeing that, anger surged within me. Why are you crying? But the anger didn't find its way into my voice. All that escaped from my mouth were sobs.
Leave the compensation and child support to the lawyer. And don't forget, I also have to take disciplinary action against you as the president. I'll inform you of the decision later.
I don't want to divorce. I don't want to.
You don't have the right to refuse. Please, I beg you, don't turn kindness into enmity any further.
As my mother-in-law spoke, sobs escaped from Jason's mouth. After confirming that Jason remained completely silent for a while, both my parents-in-law bowed their heads to me and my father, still wearing somber expressions.
I apologize for the trouble our son has caused. Please rest assured, we won't allow any further tantrums. Please forgive us.
Father quietly nodded at my father-in-law's words and supported me as we left the hospital room. Exiting the deserted lobby, my father gestured for me to sit down and offered me a drink.
Are you okay?
I'll be fine. I'm feeling a bit calmer now.
Are you sure about the divorce? It's okay to take some time to think.
My father knows how much I love Jason. Despite getting married and having children, I continued to mention Jason, unchanged, which made him smile wryly. However, I shook my head. It's over. Divorce is the only option. But I can't afford the lawyer's fees. Currently, the amount of money I have access to is limited. I've never worked. I've always been a stay-at-home mom. I have to find a job now, and it's all very unsettling.
Don't worry about that. I'll cover the lawyer's fees. Besides, it was my idea to recommend Jason as your husband. We'll figure out the future together.
I'll work too. It wouldn't set a good example for the kids if I didn't. But can I really rely on you for the lawyer's fees?
Of course. Lean on me.
My father's hand gently stroked my head as he smiled sadly and quietly. Tears welled up again at the warmth of my father's hand, something I hadn't felt in a long time. 6 months later, we divorced when Jason was discharged from the hospital. Thanks to the lawyer my father introduced me to, we smoothly received compensation and child support, even from my sister. she resisted until the end. But it seems my father's disownment declaration was serious. She was kicked out of the house upon discharge. I couldn't help but feel a sense of justice. My sister was always frivolous with money and had debts. Now, she works in a nightclub to pay off her debts and the compensation. Despite being attractive, she doesn't earn much due to her age. Because of this, she lives in fear of debt collectors. Jason, on the other hand, naturally lost his job at my father's company. The title of the next president disappeared, leaving Jason with nothing. No one approached Jason in his downfall. Even the several mistresses within the company quickly grew tired of him and left easily. Later, I learned that Jason had been using his position as the next president to lure girls with expensive gifts. Women attracted by material possessions and status quickly departed when those were gone. I couldn't help but laugh. However, I had no intention of forgiving them. I made sure to claim ample compensation from each of them. While the full recovery of compensation is still ongoing, I plan to collect every penny. As for myself, I started working as an office clerk at my father's company. I had been a full-time housewife for a long time. My body still isn't used to working, but with support from those around me, I'm managing fairly well and enjoying it to some extent. My private life is also supported by my children. They must have had their own thoughts about it. I can tell they're trying to support me. A mother who adores her father. They witnessed a mother betrayed by her father. I worried about what would happen if they went off the rails, but it seems I was worrying needlessly. They're concerned about me, thinking I might lose it due to the shock. I've still thought of them as children, but they had long since grown up. Moreover, it's ironic that the children found their future goals through this incident. Each of the three is diligently studying to become a doctor, lawyer, or company owner. With these three, I don't have to worry about anything that might happen. Until the day they fulfill their dreams and leave the nest, I will protect my children. All right. Let's give it our all today. I psych myself up for another day.